Let me tell you something. That might sting a little, but it's the truth. Motivation is a liar. Motivation tells you you're going to feel like getting up every morning. Motivation tells you the excitement will last. Motivation tells you that passion alone will carry you through. And guess what? Motivation is nowhere to be found when life hits you in the mouth. You want to build wealth? You want to grow a business? You want to live in alignment with your purpose? Then you better stop waiting for motivation to show up like it's some kind of superhero. Discipline is the real MVP. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask your permission. Discipline shows up even when you don't want to. Motivation often arrives like a flash of lightning. It lights up the sky for a moment, electrifies your spirit, and it makes everything seem possible. But just as quickly as it appears, it disappears, leaving you in the dark again, wondering what happened to all that energy you felt the night before. That's the nature of motivation. It's a surge, not a source. You can get motivated by a video, a song, a sermon, or a conversation. It gives you goosebumps. It moves your emotions. It can even shift your perspective. But the problem is, it doesn't always last through the night. It doesn't always wake up with you the next morning. You can't count on it to show up when the alarm goes off at 5 o'clock a.m. or when your legs are sore or when your business isn't growing. Motivation is a mood. It's affected by your energy levels, your environment, your hormones, and even the weather. You might feel inspired on a sunny day, but downcast on a rainy one. You might feel like writing your business plan after watching a powerful testimonial, but feel completely indifferent the next day when there's no one cheering you on. Motivation is like a visitor. You're glad when it's around, but it doesn't pay rent, and that's why so many people start strong and fade fast. They get motivated to lose weight, but 2 weeks in, they're back on the couch with a bag of chips. They get motivated to launch a new business, but 3 weeks later, they haven't even bought the domain name. They get motivated to rebuild their marriage or reconnect with their kids, but as soon as things get uncomfortable, they retreat. Why? Because motivation wasn't enough to carry them through resistance. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It doesn't spike like motivation. It builds slowly, brick by brick, until it becomes a fortress. Discipline is not concerned with how you feel. It is concerned with what you committed to. It shows up whether you're excited or exhausted. It doesn't require inspiration. It runs on decision, not emotion. You see, motivation is reactive. It waits for something to stir it. Discipline is proactive. It initiates. It leads. It commands your body, your mind, and your emotions to follow whether they want to or not. Discipline is the parent and motivation is the child. The parent doesn't ask the child for permission to lead. The parent sets the direction and keeps walking, even when the child complains. When you live off motivation, you live on a roller coaster. One day you're up, the next you're down. Your actions become dictated by your moods. But when you live off discipline, you become stable, you become consistent. And consistency is what compounds over time into mastery, excellence, and results. Discipline doesn't show up with fireworks. It doesn't come with hype music or applause. It comes in quietly, like a wise teacher. It teaches you to do the same thing today that you did yesterday, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because discipline understands that greatness is not made in bursts. It's made in repetition. A person who depends on motivation has 100 half-finished projects. A person who walks in discipline finishes what they start. They aren't moved by how they feel. They are moved by what they said they would do. Discipline makes you dependable to yourself and to others. It makes you trustworthy with your own vision. When you operate in discipline, you are not ruled by comfort. You are not enslaved by convenience. You don't need conditions to be perfect. You don't wait for the stars to align. You move, you act, and you adjust. Discipline gives you resilience. It teaches you how to keep showing up even when the rewards are not immediate. Motivation often tricks you into thinking the process will be easy because the beginning feels so good. But discipline tells the truth. The process will be hard and it will require sacrifice. And still, discipline chooses the process over and over again. Because discipline is not romantic, it's reliable. It's not thrilling, it's thorough. Every person who has ever built something that mattered, whether it was a business, a body, a family, or a faith, built it with discipline. Not one of them had motivation every day. In fact, most had days they didn't want to do anything, but they did it anyway. That's what sets the successful apart from the spectators. When you build your life around discipline, you start to trust yourself. You stop waiting for the right moment. You stop making excuses. You stop negotiating with procrastination. You stop letting feelings become your master. Discipline teaches you that you can do hard things and you can do them consistently. It's easy to look at someone who's successful and assume they were just born with a higher drive or more passion or better circumstances. But if you peel back the layers, what you almost always find is relentless discipline. They didn't always feel like working. They didn't always feel like showing up, but they did it every day, especially on the days they didn't feel like it. Discipline isn't glamorous. It won't get you applause, but it will get you results. It's the quiet force behind every transformation. It doesn't need to be seen, it just needs to be done. And the more you do it, the stronger it becomes. It grows like a muscle. And just like a muscle, it has to be trained. Most people are waiting to feel ready. They're waiting to feel fired up. They're waiting for the right time. But discipline doesn't wait. Discipline decides. It takes the step. It makes the call. It starts the task. And it finishes it, whether it feels like it or not. If motivation is the spark, then discipline is the engine. The spark might light the fire, but without the engine, you're not going anywhere. And unlike a spark, the engine runs continuously. It doesn't need to be impressive. It just needs to work. And when it does, it takes you far. Discipline doesn't ask for your opinion. It doesn't knock on the door of your comfort zone and say, "Is now a good time?" It walks in uninvited, sets the agenda, and expects you to get to work. Discipline is not interested in your preferences. It's committed to your progress. It doesn't care if you feel tired, bored, uninspired, or scared. It only cares that the work gets done. Most people live their lives waiting for a sign. They wait for someone to give them permission. Permission to dream big, permission to take action, permission to lead, permission to believe in themselves. But discipline doesn't need external validation. It moves from internal conviction. It's not looking for applause or agreement. It already decided that forward is the only direction worth going. Every time you hesitate, every time you stall, every time you say, "I'll wait until I feel more ready," you're handing your power to something outside yourself. Discipline takes that power back. It understands that readiness is a myth, that perfect timing is a fantasy, and that growth only comes when you move before it feels safe. Discipline does not negotiate with fear. It doesn't entertain doubt. It doesn't attend meetings where excuses are the agenda. It shows up with clarity, with consistency, and with a quiet intensity that refuses to back down. While others are waiting for motivation to strike like lightning, discipline lights the candle, gets to work, and keeps moving. You'll never build something meaningful if you always need to feel good to act. Emotions are unstable. Circumstances are unpredictable. But discipline is steady. It functions in rain and shine, in peace and pressure, in clarity and confusion. It does not require the stage to be set. It builds the stage with its own hands. There is a false idea that says you need to feel inspired to do something great. The truth is you need to act consistently, and inspiration might show up later. Discipline doesn't wait to be inspired, it inspires. It shows you what's possible when you stay committed long enough to see results. You don't need more opinions. You don't need another poll. You don't need to send out another text asking what people think. Discipline already has its marching orders. It already made the decision when you said yes to your vision. And now it's time to act on that yes, even when everything inside you wants to hit snooze. Discipline teaches your body and mind who's in charge. It doesn't allow your cravings to dictate your schedule. It doesn't allow your comfort to determine your calling. It doesn't check the temperature of your emotions before deciding whether or not to follow through. It follows through regardless. When you live without discipline, you're at the mercy of your mood. When you live with discipline, your mood bows to your mission. There's a shift that happens when you stop asking for permission to act. You begin to walk with authority, not arrogance, but authority, the kind that says, this is what I'm here to do, and I'm doing it whether the room claps or not. Discipline is the engine behind every breakthrough. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's unrelenting. It says, I'm going to show up again and again and again. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because what's at stake is too valuable to leave in the hands of how you feel on any given day. There's no growth without pressure, and pressure doesn't wait for permission either. Discipline knows this and walks straight into the discomfort. It understands that comfort zones are just cages with nice furniture. Discipline breaks out. It doesn't ask, is it okay if I leave? It picks the lock, kicks down the door, and keeps going. The moment you stop waiting to feel ready is the moment you start gaining real momentum. Discipline builds that momentum. It stacks small wins into massive outcomes. It turns daily routines into legendary results. It doesn't need a crowd, it just needs commitment. And once you're committed, you stop flinching every time resistance shows up. Discipline acts when no one's watching. It wakes up early without being reminded, stays up late finishing what it started. It says no when everyone else is saying yes. It sacrifices pleasure for purpose, distraction for focus, comfort for calling. And it does it without fanfare because its reward isn't attention, it's advancement. Many people want to be great, but few are willing to do what greatness requires. Greatness requires discipline, not dreams. It requires action without applause, execution without emotions, consistency without confirmation. It requires you to be so locked in that even when the world doubts you, your own discipline does not. There are people with more talent than you, more resources than you, more connections than you, but discipline can outwork them all. Discipline will take average and make it excellent. Discipline will take slow and make it unstoppable. Discipline will take behind the scenes and make it historic. The moment you decide that you're done waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect version of yourself to appear, discipline steps in. It picks up the tools you already have and gets to work. It doesn't stall, it doesn't sulk, it doesn't compare, it commits. Discipline doesn't check in to see if you're in the mood to grow. It demands growth. It demands progress. It demands movement. And it doesn't stop to explain itself. It doesn't need permission, approval, or applause. It just needs you to obey the assignment. Not later, not when it's convenient, now. Success doesn't bow to noise. It doesn't answer to excitement. It doesn't move because someone posted a viral video or gave a fiery speech. Success is not triggered by the volume of your voice or the energy of your emotions. It is triggered by your consistency, by your discipline, by the quiet, often unnoticed habits you repeat day after day, long after the hype dies down. Hype is loud, it's thrilling, it feels good, it makes promises in the moment, it inflates your expectations and convinces you that a breakthrough is just one emotional high away, but hype is temporary. It doesn't have roots, it doesn't stay, and the minute the music fades and the applause stops, hype disappears, and you're left with your habits. Habits are boring to talk about. They don't trend on social media. No one's posting reels about brushing their teeth every morning or sticking to a daily writing routine. But those are the very things that build real, lasting success. Habits are the blueprint. They're not the explosion, they're the foundation. They don't create a flash, they create a future. You can attend all the conferences, you can scream affirmations in the mirror, you can cry during a powerful testimonial, but if you don't create habits that anchor your actions, those moments will dissolve like fog in the morning sun. Emotion doesn't equal execution, and execution is where success lives. Habits create momentum that hype never can. A habit once formed works for you even when you're not thinking about it. It becomes second nature. It reduces the friction between you and action. You don't have to wrestle with your emotions every time, you just do it. It becomes a part of your identity, not just a reaction to a feeling. Success is built in silence. It's built in the moments when no one is watching. It's built when you show up on the days you don't feel like it, when you follow the process, even when the results haven't shown up yet. That's the grind most people avoid because it's not sexy, it's not thrilling, but it works. You'll never meet a truly successful person who built their legacy on motivation alone. They'll tell you it was systems, routines, rituals, and relentless execution. They might have had moments of hype, but they lived in the discipline of habits. Hype got them started, habits kept them going. Every big result you want is tied to a small habit you're probably overlooking. You want a better body? It's in the meal you eat when no one's watching. You want a better income? It's in the calls you make when you'd rather scroll. You want a better mindset? It's in the thoughts you repeat when you're alone. Success listens to the patterns, not the promises. People chase hype because it's easier. It makes you feel like you've already achieved something just by feeling excited. But excitement doesn't create equity. It doesn't build businesses, heal relationships, or raise strong children. Only habits do that. The habits that you fight for in the dark, the ones no one celebrates but everyone benefits from. Habits are small decisions made consistently. They don't feel revolutionary in the moment, but over time they rewire your life. They move you from intention to implementation, from wishing to walking, from hype to harvest. But the process takes time. And that's why most people never stick with it. The world loves hype because it's entertaining. It sells tickets. It gets views. But the world is changed by people who build things quietly, daily, consistently. People who are more committed to their calendar than their feelings. People who show up whether or not anyone claps. You can hype yourself up with quotes, videos, and speeches, but if you don't create systems that support your goals, your motivation will eventually become frustration. You'll wonder why nothing's working, and the answer will be simple. Habits win where hype wears out. Habits give structure to your energy. They guide it, they channel it. Hype may ignite the fire, but habits keep it burning. Without habits, your energy is scattered, your focus is fractured, your potential is wasted.